This video will provide some instructions on how you can help with the 1910 Census Project, with a particular focus on helping African American families. There's about 243,000 African American families in the 1910 census that have record hints that we can connect to the tree. The importance of doing this is that we can then make sure that everyone in the 1910 census is on the family tree. And also the 1910 census is great because often we'll find children that were missed that are not on the family tree that we can add. And this will create discovery experiences for people using the family tree for the first time. So let me show you how this works. This is the Google Sheet that you'll have a link to. And notice across here, the bottom, we have these different tabs. And I just wanted to first show you the stats tab. This just shows you how many hints there are for each state. And we'll be updating the status bar as we complete each state. You can see here that there's 243,000 hints, and you can see the hints by state. And so if you want, you can just go to the place we'll be working on next, which will always be this first tab, or you can pick a state where you want to help. So I'm going to click on this first tab. And notice now here I am in the Google Sheet, and I can come here to the top. Now to find an open spot, you just click on one of the cells in the volunteer column and hit Control down. Now sometimes you'll have just like a little gap. So if you want, you can just hit Control down again and find an open spot. And then what you'll do is write your name into the cell. And then one thing I like to do is just highlight a chunk and hit Control D. That will just fill my name in and let other people know I'm working on this section. And at this point, you'll just click, sorry, let me do that again. You'll just click, you'll click here on the cell, and then a box will pop up and you'll click on that box. Now here you are in SourceLinker. And once you're in SourceLinker, this is where you're going to have to make a decision about whether it's a match or not. And just know that we're kind of assuming that you have experience with SourceLinker. And if you don't, there's some videos you can watch to get a little bit more experience with SourceLinker. It's also fine to do this alongside another person, so you can ask them when you have a tough case that you're not sure about. Now, the most important thing is to decide if the family on the left, which is the family in the census record, is the same as the family on the right, which is a family on the family tree. And you can always open up details and see what information. Now, in this case, I don't think there's enough information to know if it's a match. There's lots of things that are lining up really well, though notice Benny was born a little bit before the marriage date, which happens, but this would not be a good match. And so what we do is we just skip it and we just put a 1. A 1 just means you checked it. Okay, so we can close that and we can open up another one. So notice here we have another family. And in this case, you can see that actually everyone is already green, which means it's already done. And we'll be trying to clean those out as we go. You can see that that is now done. Now this is one I would call an easy one. If you look, you can see right here that the other 2 family members have already been attached. You can see he was born in North Carolina. Everything's lining up really well. So you just hit compare and then attach. And normally you'd have to hit add for residence, but the residence was already there. So we'll click 1 there. So that's basically how it works. And so 1 just means you checked it. It doesn't mean that you actually did the hint. We'll be able to come back and check to see if the hints are done. And if any families you skip will be sent to a different team that can handle harder cases or think about how to get that family on the tree. Now, let me just end by showing kind of how I approach the project or how I like to work with the Google Sheet. You don't have to do this. You can do it one at a time, just like I showed you. But I would just want to show you 2 power tools that I think are really helpful. So one is you can highlight several URLs. And then if you hit Alt-Enter, it will actually open up all of those URLs at once. You can see them as tabs across my top. And then the other thing I like to do is use Goldie May. It's a Chrome extension. You can download it. There's other videos about how to use it. Sorry about that. But notice what I did is I just opened up Goldie May over here to the right. I'm going to click on these 3 bars and hit volunteering. Now Goldie May is just going to kind of help me off here to the right, but I still have to make a decision about whether this is a match. So again, I can look at the details. So you can see here we have Myron Baker, again, like a common last name, but a relatively uncommon first name. You can see the birth info is lining up really well. You can see she was living in Monroe in 1910, and then she was married in Monroe in 1918. So everything's lining up really well. The parents' names line up pretty well. But you see we have Cora and Clara. So that's, that seems like probably a very easy indexing error. And then the nice thing is we're going to pick up some of her brothers. Though it is interesting that we have a brother named Quails, though my guess is it might be a stepbrother. So at this point, we can attach this by hand, or what we can do is we can hit the Goldie May button, which will do all the clicking for us. Now, let me be clear, this quals is a bit of an edge case. So if I didn't want to add quals, then I would just do everything here by hand. But well, let me think about this a little more. So I think I'm actually just going to do this one by hand, and I'll show you Goldie May in just a second. But by doing it by hand, then I can leave the brother out who has a different surname. So notice here, I'm going to add Paul to the tree. And by skipping Robert, he's still going to get a chance to be on the tree. It'll just happen through kind of a different process. Okay, so again, here, notice that this is a really good match. You can almost tell it's a fantastic match without looking at details, but you can still take a look at the details. Here you can see Virginia, 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 Virginia. Okay, so everyone and all the birth years are lining up really well. You can see that in 1900 they were living in Virginia, then they moved to Iowa. And then that's kind of cool because you have, looks like they maybe spent some time in Massachusetts and Virginia. So this is a cool family. Now, normally I would go and I would click each of the buttons, but with Goldie May, I just click this, and then Goldie May will do all the clicking for me. And notice that Goldie May will always remember to hit the Add Residence button. It'll bring it over, and then it'll add new people. And then if it finds a possible match for someone, it will stop and let you make that decision. Okay. So what I do then is I just start to work my way backwards along these tabs. And so each one I'm making a decision about whether it's a match. This one looks like a harder call, so I'm going to skip it. This one is already done. This one just has the one daughter to add, so I'll hit Goldie May. Okay, this one here is also, again, another fantastic match with lots of links. This is one where Goldie May is really helpful. And in fact, what I usually do is I work on two computers next to each other so that while Goldie May is doing all of this clicking, I can start focusing on another family. And I like that because then I'm spending most of my time making decisions about whether the family's a match and letting Goldie May do a lot of the clicking for me. You can see, again, this is a pretty easy match. And so I'll click Goldie May, and then come to this last one. Again, another easy match. And this is what we really like about this project, is that a lot of these matches are really easy. And so if you're willing to kind of make that decision, then you can actually connect a lot of families with the tree in a short amount of time. So you can see here, William was born in Alabama. His wife was born in Kentucky. Paralee kind of a unique name. So really it's all this unique information that makes us feel more confident about the match. So then I hit attach records. So notice here, we just worked through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hints. And then what I do is I just pull this tab out and away. I close all of these at the same time. I come back in here and I mark these as ones. Okay. And then if I wanted to go to my next batch, I'd hit Control down. I'd find my next little open section. I'd put in my name. I'd hit Control D, and you can check out as many as you want at a time. I highlight all of these. I hit Alt Enter. And notice now I'm all ready to go with a new group of families. And we really call this the triage approach because we will be coming back and doing more work for these families. We'll be connecting, finding duplicates, finding death dates, finding maiden names. But for right now, the most important thing we want is to make sure that each of these families is connected to the tree. And the honest truth is a lot of these are really easy, like this one here, that if we just hit attach records, now Emma's now connected to the tree. And you might ask, well, she was already on the tree. Why do we want to connect? It's our way of making sure that everyone's on the tree because not all of these hints that you'll see are correct. And if they're not correct, then that allows us to go and make sure that family's on the tree. So I'm really grateful for your help with this project. Feel free to send us questions or comments as you work on it. Feel free to pick the state that you want to work on. You can see the different states across the bottom here. Let me just pull this up. Oops. You can kind of see the different tabs along the bottom here. And as you move over, you can kind of pick a state you want to work on. Or if you want to just work with the group, just always pick the tab that's to the far left. But we're really grateful to have your help.